Hey guys, what's up? Why you should? I'm feeling a lot better. I was kind of sick, but now I'm feeling a lot better. Kind of through the day at work, I got to feeling better and better, which is kind of funny. I guess I'm still in this honeymoon period of just starting a new job and being really excited and motivated towards it. I hope it'll never end, you know. But right now I'm really enjoying my work, so I felt better throughout the day, which is a weird experience. But anyways, today I want to talk to you about books, and I've been wanting to do this for quite a while. I think it's like our third or fourth book session. I don't really know. But today we're going to talk about Murakami. And this is an author that has been on my list for a long amount of time. He's a very acclaimed Japanese author. And what I usually do with authors is I take the best books, you know, the most acclaimed books, according to what I've managed to find. And I read those books first, and as long as I continue liking the books, I keep reading through the author. Might be everything the author has written, might not be. Specifically for Murakami, he's been writing books for quite a long amount of time, so I might stop in the middle, but so far, I've been enjoying it. And I started up with Kafka on the Shore. Now, Murakami is a Japanese author, and to me, it's a very different culture, and there's a lot of very, you know, it's Japanese weirdness, you might call it. For me, it's not that difficult because, I like that culture and I watch a lot of anime. And though it's very different, it's still, that Japanese weirdness is easy for me to digest, I guess. It is very different from what I normally read. I like fantasy novels, if you recall. And this is fiction. Not science fiction, just fiction. Which, science fiction is usually space age. Fiction is usually in our current day and age. These all happen in about 80s or 90s. Kinda, I think. This one is definitely, 1Q84 is definitely in the 80s. We'll get to that in a second. But these are still, it's fiction, so it's our current day and age, but there's some supernatural elements. There's something weird going on. And Kafka on the Shore is I believe it's his most acclaimed book. And you know what? It's the best one to start, I feel, because it is it's wholesome, at least how I feel about it. It ends well, and it leaves you with a lot of questions. It's the kind of book that asks a million questions and does give you answers for nothing. It's a lot of riddles that you kind of have to try and figure out for yourself, and a lot of people don't like that, and in a lot of times it's done poorly, so it's like, I'm not sure about the answer, so I'll leave it up to the reader, and then you just want to punch the author in the face. But it's not the case with this one. I really like Kafka on the Shore. I think it's a very good book, and you should definitely read this. If you're considering Murakami, the Japanese weirdness, you know, this very acclaimed author, you should definitely start with this thing because it's really good. And I really enjoyed this book, even though it left me with a lot of questions. And, you know, it's kind of a book that you finish and then you're left with lingering questions for a couple weeks later. And I feel that's a good thing. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this one. And I moved on to 1Q84. Which, if you look at this little thing, I have about 100 more pages till I finish it. This one, according to what I understand, this is Murakami's biggest project. It's actually 3 books. As you can see here, it's the complete trilogy. So it's actually 3 books. And let me tell you, I think that he should better go with smaller books, because there's a little bit of a problem with 1Q84. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely Murakami, and it's weird as hell. But it's 3 books, and let me put it this way: the first book, it's kind of slow. It sets you into the world, and it's interesting. It's good, and you're kind of like eased into it. In the second book, a lot of crazy shit happens in a really, really good way. It's very exciting, and you just keep on reading through. And in the third book, that's where there's a little bit of a problem, because throughout the first 2 books, you only had 2 characters, the 2 main characters, Tengo and Aomame, if I'm saying their names correctly. And you've just been going back and forth, Tengo, Aomame, Tengo, Aomame. In the third book, he adds a 3rd character, and that 3rd character is actually kind of trying to figure out what Tengo and Aomame is up to, what they're doing. And in that, he discovers things about them. But these things that he discovers are things I already know. And he's not really giving me any new information. Now, if he was there from the start, I might have some kind of emotional attachment to this 3rd character. It might be interesting. But since he was just kind of flung into, while things were so hectic and interesting with the first 2 characters, I don't care about him. I just want him out of the way. And the way that it usually works for me in fantasy novels, and again, this is fiction, it might be different, but I think that's the way it kind of needs to be whenever you have more than one character, is that, you know, you always have the character that you really, really like and you want to hear, and then you have the other characters like, oh god, not another chapter from this character. And then you start reading it, and 2 pages in, you just don't care anymore because it's interesting, and you're suddenly hooked on this character as well. The problem with this one is that it never happens. When I see that third character, I stay bored throughout the entire chapter, and it reached a point where I was like, maybe I can skip it? Maybe I can just not read it because I'm not going to get anything new, it's just going to be boring. And clearly I couldn't do that because I have to read everything. If I'll miss something, I'll kill myself. But there was nothing there. I finished the chapter and there was like, yeah, I could have skipped it. I could have skipped it. And that just feels kind of crappy. And I'm really like pushing through those chapters to reach the interesting bits. I'm 100 pages away, and I definitely recommend reading it. But the third book is is a little bit more of a drag. It was enough for me to order up a third book. Again, once I reach a book that I don't want to read anymore, I stop. But it was good enough for me to order another book. And then it was became a little bit more difficult because Kafka's obvious. 1284 is, again, one of his biggest works. And consider very good, but then there's so many things. It's like the good old ones, or a little bit of the good new ones, and this is kind of weird in its own special way. And this is I didn't really know. I asked around and ended up ordering the Wind Up Bird Chronicles. This is untouched. It's beautifully white, and I haven't read it yet. I'm gonna finish 1Q84 and then gonna reach into it, and we'll see how that goes. But Murakami is definitely a recommendation of mine. Start with Kafka. If you're into that, try others. I don't really know which ones. 1Q84 is great. You could try that one, but I really don't know what to say because there's so many different ones. There's so many different weirdness, apparently, according to what I hear. There's so much material you can find online about this guy. Crazy Japanese people, man. Start with Kafka on the Shore, definitely. If you're just wanting, just a taste, this is the book. And yeah, that's our 3rd, 4th, 5th book session. I really don't know. Next one will be whenever I finish a good amount of books. Probably we'll move on from Murakami to someone else because he really has a big body of work. He's been working from the 80s, I think, or maybe even earlier than that. Released a good amount of books every couple of years. But yeah, Murakami. Yeah, and it's actually kind of weird because these are from the same. You can see that they're very similar, and this is a little bit different. Whatever. So yeah, that's books. That's Murakami. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.